Hi everyone, and welcome to The Purpose Cooker. I'm Lexi.
And I'm Erica.
And today we want to talk about your dreams being killed. So how many of you guys have had a dream as a child or either as a young adult and have had that dream completely killed? And you just knew, like, as a child or as a young adult that dream was going to happen. I know that personally that's happened to me. And it kind of changed. I feel like it changed the whole course of my life in a way where I didn't dream as much, or I didn't expect much, or I just settled for mediocre. And a story that I could think of, like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a model. I wanted to be like Tyra Banks. And I just knew it was going to happen. Like, I would model, I would just do all kind of stuff, walking up and down the hallways. And I was like, I'm going to be Tyra Banks. Like, that's my goal. And one day, my loving mother was like, I'm sorry, baby, but, being a supermodel, a high fashion supermodel, it's not going to be in the plans it might not be in the plans for you, because seeing as though I'm only 5'6", and your grandmother's only about 5'6"-ish, you're probably only going to be about 5'6". And I was crushed, but at the same time, it was really realistic. So then I jumped to, okay, well, if I can't be a model, then I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be just like Beyonce. Lord Jesus. Was that crushed too? Not by my mom, my parents.
By me.
I don't even think you really crushed it that much. Yeah, maybe a little bit, maybe subconsciously, but but it was crushed by multiple people saying it wasn't realistic, it wasn't practical, you need to do something that is going to get you money. And being an artist, being in the creative world, which is kind of how my makeup is, I'm very creative, that's not going to give you money. And so
or at least that's what you were told.
That's what I was told. It wasn't going to be stable enough. So my idea not only was singing a part of it, but it was like acting, singing, modeling, anything in the creative world. Like, that's what I wanted to do. Entertainment industry. That's totally what I wanted to do. And so it was kind of killed, and that kind of left me to kind of try and figure out what I wanted to do, like, all the way up until now. And for the longest time, I was just like, I don't know what I want to do, because deep down, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in entertainment. I wanted to sing. I wanted to act. I wanted to do something completely different than the standard of how you make money, because that's not how, my makeup was. And it wasn't until recently where I was just really talking to God and, pressing in, and he just really settled in my spirit that I gave you those desires, and you can use those desires for my glory. Like, it's not like I just gave you these desires just to just because, or right. No, I gave you these desires to use for my glory. And so you will sing for me. That's what he told me a few months ago. And so when he really gave me that revelation, I was just taken away. I was like, you're right, Lord. I don't just have to have this one-dimensional aspect of just my life and my career. I can sing and I can do all these other things. I don't have to just do one thing. And then once I got that in my head, everything else was so much easier, because I think sometimes we sit there and we think oh, I can only do one thing. I can only sing, or I can only be, a doctor. I can only do this. But no, you could do so many different things.
Right. And I think, what I think about when it comes to dream killing, much like Lexi, I also had my dreams killed at a very young age, and I had similar aspirations, and God began to reveal to me there are certain things that I was just inclined to do and things that I was just interested in as a child. And I didn't think that those were things that you could do as a career, because different people had said they just kind of, I'll just say there wasn't a high value on doing things in the creative realm, at least for our family. And that's not our immediate family, but more like extended family. That just, there wasn't really like something to be sought after. Everyone kind of wanted, like you should focus on something more in the professional realm. Mm-hmm. And so that's just kind of how we were reared. Not by our parents, because if you know our parents, then you would know that's kind of like the opposite. But, so we learned how to kind of like walk and talk and move in different avenues. And ultimately what God started to reveal to me was some of those things that I thought were super trivial, things that I picked up photography like really young. My uncle is a professional photographer, and I just latched onto that. And I used to record videos. I got like a camcorder at like 10. I started taking pictures at like 10. And then I started doing graphic design in high school. I did web design in high school, all self-taught, things that I was just interested in, none of which I thought I could ever have a career in. All for one day I prayed to God. I said, God, just can you find a way for the things that I like desire, the things that make me happy, figure out a way to like marry that into my purpose and my calling. Not even thinking about any of the things that I thought as hobbies, that he would find a way to just use those things again in my adult life. I never thought that he would, like, any of these things would resurface. And for me to kind of see that those desires and those things that I had deep down in my heart, like, he placed those there. And there was a reason and there was a purpose for them, and there's a calling for them. And so what I really want to talk about is parents, family members, loved ones, don't kill your kids' dreams.
Yes.
Because those dreams that kids have, those dreams were placed there by God, and he has a purpose for them. And so sometimes we don't know what the purpose is because we only think of those dreams, or we only think of them or see them in their raw form. Yeah. And so in the raw form, it doesn't look like much substance. It doesn't look like, what can you do with that? You can't have a career in that. But you have to wait and see how God will choose to manifest that, and how he will work through that raw form. Because in that rawness, in that, when they're in that miry clay, season, that's when they're discovering their purpose. Yeah. And so as a parent, as a loved one, as a family member, you're encouraged the kids that you're around. I even have like a little cousin. I noticed that, she wanted to play with my camera, and I don't usually let kids, she's really little, play with my cameras, but something just told me to let her play with it. Yeah. And she actually has a gift of photography. She's 5 years old, and she's using manual settings on my camera, my DSLR. Like, she could take really, really great pictures. I mean, like, amazing pictures. And so that's just a great, and it doesn't mean that she's going to be a photographer, but you want to just see what can they do with these dreams. You want to help them to cultivate them.
I think it's important that, like, parents and family members, do not kill your kids' dreams, because God is doing something. He's working something. He's trying to form this being into in his image. And so, but for those of us who are now adults, young adults, grown people, I think it's really important when we look at certain verses, and just looking at God as a whole, just to know that God is a God of restoration. Yeah. And I look at this verse, Joel 2:28, and it says, "And afterward I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions." It's so important that we just go back into those dreams and those visions that we had as children, and we ask God. We ask him, we say, "Lord, I remember having this passion about this particular area of my life, and I feel like it's dead now and it's coming back up. What do you want to do with that?" Because I don't feel like it's a desire that I just came up with on my own. This was a desire that you placed in my heart as a child. What do you want to do with this? And how do you see this working into my life now? How do you want to use this for your glory, Lord? And I think when we take a look and we see that God, like I was saying, God is a God of restoration, and he wants to do more. And so we don't want to limit him. And he's placed all these desires in our hearts for a reason. So let's just ask him, press into him, and see what he wants to do.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, it's just so, it's so important to like just kind of like go back to the scriptures, right? Like just pull back and go back into the scriptures. Not to be super preachy, but we got to use some Bible verses for this, because the next verse that I think of is, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. That's Jeremiah 1:5. He said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you.
Yes.
So all of those desires, everything that those desires he gave us, right? And he has a plan for them. He has a purpose for them. And so we've got to just kind of like latch hold of that and just cultivate those dreams. And like Lexi said, just go back and ask God, reveal to me, if you're lost, reveal to me, what do you want for my life? What purpose, what plans do you have for my life? God, like the prayer that I pray, God, how can you help me to find, figure out what it is I'm supposed to do with my desires, my passions, and what's my calling? How does all that tie in? Even like when I was little, I was thinking back to like when I was little, I used to literally go around and lay hands on people. I had anointing oil and I would lay hands and I would pray for people for healing. I couldn't have been more than like 3 years old. I have literally been preaching my whole life. Like I used to make all my family sit around and I would open up my little kids' Bible and I would like preach Bible stories to them. And I've always done this. And I remember when God started to remind me of those things that I used to do. And I said, oh my gosh, like even then, you knew like that this is what and so I think the other thing is, don't get so consumed with the how that you discourage yourself.
That's me. She's talking to me, because I discourage myself all the time. Like all these thoughts and ideas and creative things come into play, and I'm like, wow, like that's really big. Like, how is this gonna happen? How am I gonna like make this happen? And then it gets so big that I'm like, well, I can't do this. Like Lexi can't do this. And of course, like, because Lexi did not come up with this idea. God placed this in my heart. So anytime, like, kind of going back to what Eric said, anytime God places like these huge like ideas and desires in my heart, I'm like, well, God, you're going to have to work it out, because I can't do it. I didn't come up with this. I didn't think of this. Yeah. So God, you got to help me like work this out, because I can't do it on my own.
Right.
Yeah.
So don't be consumed with the hows, focused on the what ifs. Don't be consumed with the how. How are you going to do this? How's it going to do? Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
Just focus on the what ifs. But what if he could? What if in your wildest dreams, what if he could do all of those things? And he can. But like the what ifs, I think if you focus on the what ifs, you'll go so much further than focusing on the how. Because sometimes we're so busy trying to put the steps and the plans together that's not for us to do. And that's not how God works either. I mean, in my short time of seeing how God like lays out plans, it is not anything like what you think. It doesn't match up or line up in any fashion that you would think. It's almost, it is literally irrational at times. Like you're like, this doesn't make sense. I'm going to go with it. It doesn't make sense. How is everything lining up like this? I kind of see where you're going with it. And sometimes like God will give you these visions or dreams. For me, he gives me a lot of visions, and he'll give me visions and he'll show me the end result, but he won't show me anything that leads up to it. None of the steps. And so I'm like, what do you want me to do with that? And really, he just tells me, hold on to it. Just hold on to it. Remember, I gave you that vision. Write it down. Hold on to it. Don't worry about the steps. And I think that was the hardest thing for me, is that he gave me some crazy big visions, like things that are just like almost like really unimaginable. And I said, what am I supposed to do with this? Especially my personality type. I'm like, I got a plan. I got to set this out. But the visions were so big. For me, this is how he spoke to me. The visions were so big that I said, there's no way I could plan it, because I can't make that happen. only God can. So I just encourage you guys to really, just focus on the what ifs. Dream dreams again.
Yeah, and even further than that, hold on to his promises.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, we can go through all these verses in the Bible, but there's so many verses in the Bible that just talks about God's faithfulness. And if you just look at and study the Bible and study God's character, he is a God of good. He does not come, the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. God comes to give life more abundantly.
Yeah.
And to give you more, like I said, more abundantly. So he just wants you to hold on to those dreams so that he can do it. He wants you to have faith in him that he will do it, because he will.
Yeah, he definitely will. I think this is definitely going to be a topic that we're going to dive more into, especially in the coming weeks. I definitely want to talk about how you can pray to God to manifest some of those dreams, and how the Holy Spirit works to manifest God's will and his purpose in your life. And so that's something that we're going to be talking about. So this is just kind of like touching upon dreams, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into how do we pray for our dreams, how do we prepare and align ourselves in the right position to receive once God is ready to. Because a lot of it has to do with the positioning that we're in. So that's going to be a future topic that we're going to talk about. And so we're really excited to kind of go over that with you guys. And we're just happy you came back to listen to us and hear us again. Don't forget, like, comment, and subscribe, all that jazz. Share a video with a friend. Thanks to all of our friends and family who've been sharing. We really appreciate it. And we can't wait to let you see us, and for us to see you, for you to hear from us in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.